Who doesn't love a good nail-biter preseason game? Houston Rockets basketball is back as the Rockets top the Washington Wizards 125-119 in their preseason opener for the 2021-2022 NBA calendar season. Kevin Porter Jr. stole the spotlight, was absolutely phenomenal in this one. And then Josh Christopher, the hero of the fourth quarter. We're going to get into all the ins and the outs of this game coming up right here at Locked On Rockets.
It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Mission Control, Houston.
Ignition sequence start.
With the second pick in the 2021 NBA Draft, the Houston Rockets select Jalen Green.
T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal.
I'm going to keep working. I'm going to keep getting better every day. I'm going to keep perfecting my craft. And every time I step on that floor, I'm coming.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's up, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rockets, the best and only daily podcast covering your Houston Rockets. As always, I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, native Houstonian and partner at Apollo Media. Be sure to follow along on Twitter at JT Gatlin, the show, of course, at Locked On Rockets, as well as at Apollo HOU. And if you enjoy what we do here at Locked On Rockets, do me a huge favor. Make the show your first listen of the day wherever you listen to your podcast, be it Apple, Spotify, Google, the brand new Odyssey app, or make it your first listen over on YouTube at our brand new YouTube page. Please subscribe. I would sincerely appreciate it. Now, we got so much to get into from the Rockets preseason opener. So many takeaways from this one. And the very first place we got to stop. So, final score, 125-119. And the man who stole the show, right? The man of the hour, the player of the game for the Houston Rockets has to be one Kevin Porter Jr., who really showed a lot of poise in this game. I think throughout the game, he did an exceptional job. And Steven Silas remarked on this post game. KPJ did a great job balancing his role as both a scorer for this team, as well as a facilitator for this team. And that's not an easy job to do, right? And when Kevin Porter Jr. was asked post-game how he felt about his play, he basically said his priority, his goal is to go out there and get his guys involved first because he feels like he can get a bucket whenever he wants. So his goal is to go out there, get others involved, try to set up his guys first, and then turn it on a little bit later. Sounds not unlike a left-handed guard that the Rockets were intimately familiar with over the past decade or so. I cannot count the number of times that James Harden started a game and looked to be, I guess, not aggressive whatsoever looking for his own shot, but was like over aggressive in looking to get others involved. And then just, halfway through the second quarter or to start the third, he just takes over the game and he starts, dropping buckets left and right. In this one, it kind of felt that same way for Kevin Porter Jr. He finished the first half with 12 points and 4 assists. And there were times in that first half where he was actively looking, or I guess actively passing up opportunities for himself to try and get others involved. And a couple of them to his detriment. He had a few turnovers. And that's what's going to happen when you're the primary ball handler for a team. I'm not going to harp on him too much. He had 4 turnovers to go with the rest of his really incredible stat line. 25 points on 9 of 16 shooting, 5 of 10 from behind the arc. Just 2 free throws attempted in this one. Had 4 rebounds, had 5 assists, and also had a steal and a block. So a really impressive stat line across the board for Kevin Porter Jr. But again, what really stood out was his ability to kind of shift the mentality, because after really looking to get others involved in that first half, he started that third quarter. And he went on a tear in that third quarter, had multiple 3-pointers, had 5 for the game. And it really felt like in that third quarter, he started to be a little bit more aggressive, looking for his own shot, including that 4-point play that he had, I believe. And so with KPJ, that's going to be his toughest challenge, I think, is being able to kind of shift back and forth between those two roles respectively, depending on what the team needs on a nightly basis, right? Because there might be a night where Christian Wood and Jalen Green are going off, right? They're filling up the bucket. No worries. They've got it going. Great. And KPJ can just be the facilitator for those two guys. He can rack up, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 assists on a night like that. But on a night like tonight, where Christian Wood, I don't want to say he didn't have it going. He was definitely struggling from the free throw line, as were the entire, Rockets as a team. Some free throw line struggles, unfortunately, left a lot of points at the charity stripe. Just 22 of 37 free throw shooting as a team for the Houston Rockets. Christian Wood just 2 of 7, which you'd really like to see that number improve. Christian Wood is too good of a player to be shooting 2 of 7 at the free throw line. But again, it's a preseason game. I'm not going to get too harsh on these guys. Seawood didn't get a lot of usage in this game, right? He only had 5 shot attempts. Didn't really feel like he was, heavily involved in a lot of what was going on offensively at times for the Rockets. And he also only played 23 minutes, right? Kevin Porter Jr. wound up being the high minutes man after Steven Silas came out during Rocket shoot-around earlier in the day before the game and basically said that he plans to, kind of divvy up the minutes. Nobody was going to play more than 25 minutes, and he really wanted to try and get to 14 guys deep on the roster. KPJ wound up playing 29. Jalen Green wound up playing 28, but then he held true to his word. Nobody else played more than 25 minutes past those 2 guys. So it kind of makes sense, right? He wanted to let the backcourt of the future really get their reps, really get their run in. But with KPJ, it felt like because Seawood kind of wasn't, as much of a focal point in this game offensively as he probably will be moving forward. And then because Jalen Green didn't really exactly have it going from outside, he was aggressive when he had the ball in his hands driving towards the rim. And we saw plenty of explosive highlight plays out of Jalen Green. He did not have his outside shot going, just 0 of 6 from behind the arc for Jalen Green. So KPJ took it upon himself to be the primary scorer for this team. And that's something that he's more than capable of doing. And it'll be really interesting to see him grow into this lead guard, this primary facilitator role, and see how he balances being the primary facilitator, being the orchestrator of this Rockets offense, and simultaneously being able to step into more of a scoring role as needed, depending on what the rest of the team looks like on a nightly basis. So KPJ had a really phenomenal game. I think he did a great job really controlling the flow, trying to get teammates involved, and then really stepping up in that third quarter. And again, keep in mind, he did 25 points in 29 minutes of run. If this was a regular game and KPJ had gotten his, probably usual 34, 36 minutes that he's probably going to get on a nightly basis, he could have easily gone for a 30 burger, maybe even would have been pushing 40 because he absolutely had the hot hand in that third quarter. So coming up, I want to keep breaking down different parts of this game, other parts that stood out, things that we learned from this game about the Rockets moving forward. And we're going to get there after a quick message from our friends over at Sweat Block. Because look, sweat is kind of gross, right? Being straight up, right? Unless you're at the gym working up a good sweat there, sweat can be gross. It can be uncomfortable. It can cause anxiety. You're freaking out about, oh, I'm sweating through my shirt, right? It's not great. Sweat Block can help you out with that, right? Doctor created, doctor recommended. It works for up to 7 days per application. They have a dry shirt guarantee. So if Sweat Block doesn't keep you dry, you get your money back, no questions asked. It's been featured and tested on the Rachel Ray Show by actual firefighters. So if it works for firefighters, it's probably going to work for you, right? It's stronger and more effective than most clinical antiperspirants. Basically, you just put it on at night before you go to bed. Next morning, wake up, wash, take a shower, just go about your day, get ready, all that good stuff, head out the door, and you don't have to worry about sweat anymore. It covers you up. It really does take care of you, and you can check it out. Just visit sweatblock.com and use promo code LOCKEDON to receive 20% off. That's also available at Amazon and CVS. So again, if you or someone you love is dealing with this, you have to check out Sweatblock. I know it sounds too good to be true, but it's, I've only used it once or twice a week since I started, hearing about Sweatblock, and it really does work. And again, we're based in Houston, right? Or I'm based in Houston, Bayou City. And, if it works here in Bayou City, I'm sure it'll work for you. So again, use promo code LOCKEDON for 20% off at sweatblock.com. And another message from our friends over at Sleeper, because in 2018, the fantasy sports experts at Sleeper realized that fantasy basketball was broken. Games were being won and lost based on whose players had more scheduled games that week. It made no sense and required very little strategy. So in 2020, Sleeper released a brand new way of playing fantasy basketball. It's called Game Pick, and it's only available on Sleeper. In Game Pick, owners pick a single game per week for each starter to count towards their team's total score, ensuring an even number of games played between opponents. Finally, a fair way to play fantasy, right? Sleeper cracked the fantasy basketball code. If you play fantasy, if you prefer building out a weekly strategy versus daily busy work, you're going to love Game Picks. Download the Sleeper app and start a league with your friends today. You will not be disappointed. And continuing on here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. Now, kind of stepping a little bit further away and looking at the game, as a whole, the Rockets really did go kind of back and forth with the Wizards in this one. I want to say, what was it going into the fourth quarter? Yeah, tie game going into the fourth quarter. I was right. So 91-91 going into the fourth quarter. And unfortunately, that top of the fourth quarter was kind of all Wizards for a little bit. The Rockets at one point trailing 103-95. And then they went on an absurd 28-16 run to close out the game, spearheaded by one Josh Christopher off the bench, who made the absolute most of his 9 minutes in this game, his NBA debut. I mean, just like, the series of where's my play-by-play? The series of like shots and just plays involving Josh Christopher from when he was subbed into the game. He goes right. So he gets a 3-pointer. So it's 103-95. Usman Garuba has a little layup, makes it 197. I apologize. Yeah, 103-97. This log is super messed up. Love that. And then Josh Christopher basically drills 3 triples in a row in the span of like 2 minutes. Checks in, hits a 3, 103-100. Wizards hit a couple more free throws. Josh Christopher hits another 3, then another 3. I mean, it was a barrage of threes for Josh Christopher. He also had a couple assists. He had some defensive plays in there. He really came in and absolutely impacted this game and set up the Rockets for a win down the stretch, a nail-biter preseason win where Armoni Brooks, of all people, was able to really cap off this Rockets run with a 3-pointer to give them a little bit of breathing room. Armoni Brooks icing a 3-pointer with just under 40 seconds left to play in this game, giving the Rockets a 3-point advantage. Then Jordan Goodwin comes back down, hits a 2 on the other end, makes it a 1-point game. And then thankfully, Dante Exum, who exists, right? Craig Ackerman on the broadcast saying the legend of Dante Exum was a miraculous moment. Loved that. Loved hearing Craig use that joke. Dante Exum comes in, ices a couple free throws, and then it basically becomes a free throw battle back and forth. Armoni Brooks hits a few free throws down the stretch, and that's all she wrote. The Rockets win the game. Throughout those first 3 quarters, though, before we got to the fourth quarter where it was the flurry, the barrage led by Josh Christopher, who, again, played absolutely out of his mind in his opener, really came in prepared, talked about post-game with Kaylee Griffin that he has really been working on his shot because that's been a big question of his game and how that's going to translate at the NBA level. But for him to come into his first NBA game, be it a preseason game, sure, but for him to come into this game, have 11 points, shoot 3 of 3 from behind the arc, 4 of 5 from the floor overall, had 2 rebounds, had 2 assists, had a steal, did have 3 turnovers in just 9 minutes, but that's what's going to happen when you're handling the ball as much as he does. It was really impressive. And Josh Christopher continues to show every time he hits the floor that he is going to be a force at the NBA level. I really think that he's going to have a special career, and hopefully it's with the Rockets for a very, very long time. Going through those first 3 quarters, I do think that the Rockets offensively looked really solid, creating opportunities for each other. I was really impressed with the amount of dribble handoff sets that they were running, both for and involving Jalen Green and Alperen Sengun specifically. So I really thought Jalen Green thrived when he had the ball in his hands and when he was able to just go, right? I think where he struggled was clearly his outside shot. Couldn't get a single 3-pointer to fall in this game, just 0 of 6 shooting from behind the arc. Did finish the game 12 points on 4 of 14 shooting. So if you subtract those 6 missed triples, he was 4 of 8 inside the arc, right? All shots at the rim, I believe. I don't think he took a single 2-pointer. I should apologize. I don't think he took a single mid-range shot. He also had 6 rebounds and 2 assists. Didn't have a turnover. So I think Jalen Green was very aggressive when he was able to. There were possessions where he was able to get the ball kind of going downhill off of a dribble handoff set from either C. Wood or from Alperen Sengun or Daniel Tice and kind of really get going at the rim. And it was insane to watch that burst of speed again, right? So when I saw it in person at Summer League, I was just like, my jaw almost hit the floor. And I only got to see 2 quarters of it before he sat out with the hamstring tightness, unfortunately. But the way that he changes his change of direction and then his change of speed when he decides he wants to go from, 60 to 100, it is insane. And he did that multiple times in this game, and then able to keep the handle alive while doing it, and then splitting, at times multiple defenders. I think there was one where he came off a dribble handoff set, started driving baseline, switched to his left hand, and kind of did a through the legs dribble and rose up between two defenders and got fouled and went to the free throw line because of it. And it was that change of speed and direction simultaneously that allowed him to get that opportunity. And then we saw him kind of dancing on the perimeter a little bit. I think it was Kyle Kuzma that he crossed into next Sunday when he went in for that, for his opening bucket of the night, which, for a first NBA bucket, I know it's not his real first NBA bucket yet because it's a preseason game, but for his first NBA bucket wearing an actual Rockets jersey on the Toyota Center floor, to be able to cross somebody and send them flying one direction and then go in and finish over two defenders at the rim, he wanted to yam that ball down. He wanted to dunk. He wanted to have a highlight. It was still a highlight reel play, but he wanted a number one Sports Center highlight play for his first pair of NBA points. Didn't quite get it, but the way that he finished, the way that he uses athleticism to beat his man, explode towards the rim, jump into the air, and then hang and finish through that contact over two guys, entirely impressive. So Jalen Green showed a lot of promise in this game. I wouldn't be freaked out about the three-point shot, right? He showed that he is a consistent quality three-point shooter in the G League, and you chalk this one up to maybe a little bit of first-game jitters. Maybe he just didn't have the shot tonight, right? But he found other ways to be effective. And really, the thing that stood out to me the most, those 6 rebounds of his, right? Jalen Green was actively rebounding the basketball. In fact, I think he was he up there for, third most rebounds on the team, right? Jalen Green had 6 boards. Christian Wood finished with 7. And then off the bench, Alperen Sengun had 8. So yeah, he finished with the third most rebounds on the Rockets team. And when he was able to secure those rebounds, he looked to get out and push in transition. And that's where I really felt like he was the most successful with the basketball, was off of those dribble handoff sets, getting those rebounds, actively really pushing in transition, and then trying to make something happen for either himself or for one of his teammates. Alperen Sengun is the other guy that I want to talk about for a second here, because he looked great in this game. Sengun doing Sengun things. How can you not love him? I'm so happy watching him play basketball because he's incredibly unselfish and he's just a smart player. He does so many little things. One, he boxes out early, right? Anytime. Look, the next time the Rockets play and you see Alperen Sengun on the floor, the moment a shot goes up, watch what Sengun is doing. He does his work early, boxing out opposing players, clearing his space. He's just got a great nose for the basketball, right? And that's why he's tracks down at such an insane amount of rebounds. Even in he played 13 minutes, had 8 rebounds in 13 minutes. That's absurd off the bench. And 3 of them were offensive boards. He's got a great nose for tracking down offensive rebounds and getting those putbacks, getting those easy opportunities off of mistakes or missed shots by teammates. But then we also saw the offense kind of run through him a little bit at times. And talking about those dribble handoff sets, there were times where Sengun had a couple passes out of those dribble handoff sets. One, I think probably might be my favorite play of the game, besides some of those really juicy, spicy, KPJ step backs, because those were incredible. But my favorite, probably team-oriented play of the game, was they gave the ball to Alperen Sengun in the high post. He, had the ball, was looking, and then KJ Martin had a backdoor cut. Sengun hit him with a beautiful little bounce pass. KJ had his man beat and then sucked in the defense right at the rim. And instead of forcing a contested shot at the rim, we're trying to yam it home and create a poster, which, let's face it, KJ probably could have done that. He took what could have been a good shot and made it a better shot by kicking it out to the corner to a wide open DJ Augustine, who drained the 3-pointer. So it's that level of ball movement. And it all started with Alperen Sengun by realizing he had KJ on the wing, and then KJ and Sengun being able to connect, having that chemistry, and then hitting him for a beautiful backdoor bounce pass towards leading him towards the rim. And then we also saw Sengun kind of take matters into his own hands a few times in the game, where he was set up for a dribble handoff play. And as the Rockets guard or player was coming around for the dribble handoff set, he would fake the handoff and then slip the DHO set, and then just either, power towards the rim, spin towards the rim, utilizes little behind the back spin, crossover, pivot step, all of that, and get to the rim and create something, either an opportunity to dish to somebody else or an opportunity for him to score at the rim as well. Now, he was just 1 of 4 at the charity stripe. So he went there 4 times, only shot the ball 4 times, was 2 of 4 shooting from the floor, only had the 5 points, but he had 8 rebounds, had 3 assists, had a steal, had a block, did have 2 turnovers. Biggest area of concern for me with Şengün is the foul trouble. He had 5 fouls in 13 minutes of run. So that's going to be something that he's going to have to work on. And again, I think that what we saw out of him in Summer League and what I think we're going to continue to see out of him is his ability to stay vertical when he's contesting shots. I do think some of the fouls, may have just been speed of the game, that kind of thing. But ultimately, that's going to be an area that we have to watch for with Alperen Şengün. That's going to be an area to watch for all these rookies, right? Is they're going to have some foul trouble in some of these games where they're just not realizing like how quick the opposing team is. They're going to get beat occasionally, and they have no recourse other than to foul to prevent easy buckets. So really excited for what we saw out of Şengün, both the playmaking, both the way that he was being utilized offensively to set up others. It was really exciting to see him kind of, put his imprint on this Rockets game. So coming up, I want to dive into some thoughts about the defense as well as final thoughts on some individuals from this game. There's so many guys to be able to talk about, so many different takeaways. And we're going to get there after a quick message from our friends over at betonline.ag. Because look, with football back, BetOnline is back and better than ever for all your pro and college football needs. They've also got you covered for basketball, MLB, you name it, they've got it over at BetOnline. They've got a new updated site and interface with more odds, props, and contests. BetOnline continues to be the number one source for everything betting that you could ever imagine. So head over to their website or use your mobile device to sign up today to receive a 50% welcome bonus. 50% welcome bonus on your very first deposit when you use promo code LOCKEDON. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDON for a 50% welcome bonus. From football, basketball, boxing, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. And final segment here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. Now, looking down the Wizards, Bradley Beal, 21 minutes, had 18 points. Spencer Dinwiddie, 14 points in 21 minutes. Both of those guys shooting, roughly the same. Beal was 6 of 12 from the field. Dinwiddie, 5 of 10. All the Wizards starters scored in double figures. Gafford had 10 points, 6 boards. Kispert, 12 points on 5 of 9 shooting. And then Kuzma, 11 points, but on a, kind of rough 3 of 10 shooting. And then off the bench, Aaron Holiday was kind of the high point man off the bench for the Wizards. Probably, was their high point man for the game? No, Beal beat him by 1 point. Had 17 points off the bench, 2 of 3 from behind the arc, 5 of 10 shooting overall. I think defensively for the Rockets, there were some questions. At times it felt like with the double big lineup out there, it felt like there were some times where the defense wasn't quite what it's going to need to be to keep up as we approach the regular season. I think there were multiple opportunities for the Wizards where Christian Wood, I don't want to say he was asleep on defense because he wasn't asleep. It was just like he was kind of sagging off of certain shooters. Like he was sagging off of like Kuzma a couple times. And I don't know if he was doing it because he didn't want Kuzma to catch and like beat him off the dribble, or if he was like trying to, help clog up the lane for potential drives, what have you. But defensively, it really felt like the Wizards got some really wide open looks, especially in that especially in that second quarter. Really felt like the Wizards were kind of getting whatever they wanted offensively. The rotations weren't exactly right where they needed to be, but overall, defensively, especially in that fourth quarter, now this could just be a side effect of the fact that the Wizards starters were all resting and the Rockets were running their bench unit, and maybe they just had more depth, better bench play than the Wizards did out of that respective group of five players for each team. But defensively, the Rockets it felt like they locked in a little bit more in that fourth quarter. Again, they went on that pretty insane run to close out the game, the 28-16 run, spearheaded by Josh Christopher. And in that run, we saw, Usman Garuba as part of that lineup. We saw Armani Brooks as part of that lineup, Dante Exum as part of that lineup. And defensively, it felt like they kind of locked in a little bit more and were able to get some consistent stops to be able to slow the Wizards down a little bit, as well as just them being on fire offensively. But I think Daniel Tice looked really good in this game. His ability to switch onto some of those smaller players that the Wizards were trotting out there was impressive. I wasn't as impressed with Christian Wood's ability to switch, so we will see, over time if Christian Wood can get to a point where he is, readily comfortable to switch out to smaller players on the perimeter. He's been saying he's taking a lot of pride in his defense, so we'll see where that goes. Daniel Tice looked really good in this game. 12 points, 5 rebounds, no assists, no steals, no blocks. But overall, 5 of 9 shooting from the floor, didn't hit a single 3-pointer. And that's going to be a concern moving forward. Daniel Tice is, can he effectively space the floor for this Rockets team? Or are they going to have to use him as like their primary, rim runner, rolling threat so that Christian Wood can be the spot up threat instead? Because if Tice can't keep defenses honest by hitting threes, then the spacing is going to be all kinds of jacked up for this Rockets offense. Eric Gordon was the Rockets starting small forward. So tally your bets. Whoever, had bets, if you had money placed on Eric Gordon being the starting small forward for the Houston Rockets, come collect your winnings. I was still firmly in the camp that Jae'Sean Tate should be the starter for defensive purposes, for flexibility with switching, all of these things. The ability to play up defensively, I think, is a big one because, if you're trotting out KPJ, Jalen Green as your backcourt, yes, those guys are, 6'6", 6'7", 6'9", if you count KPJ's hair, sure. But they're not exactly able to play up past guarding, guards because they just don't have the mass to do it. Eric Gordon can play up, but he's giving up a lot of size to do it because he's only 6'4". He's, broad. He's got the strong shoulders. Like, he can play up a little bit, but you're giving up a lot of length, a lot of size by playing Eric Gordon at your 3 spot. I know Jae'Sean Tate's not that much of a jump up because he's only 6'5". But again, I was not a big fan of the decision. What I was a big fan of was the substitution patterns that we saw and the lineups that included Christian Wood at the 5 spot. And I think it was the very first substitution of the game where Stephen Silas brought in Jae'Sean Tate and Daniel House Jr. for Eric Gordon and Daniel Tice. And that gave the Rockets kind of a small ball run and gun lineup of KPJ, Green, Tate, House, and Wood. And I think those lineups are honestly going to be some of my favorites, where they're basically running Wood at the 5 and then some combination of a guard and then multiple forwards, or however they want to split it up. And so that confirms who the Rockets starter is going to be moving forward. I don't expect this to suddenly deviate. I don't expect Stephen Silas to suddenly tap another player to be the starter in the next preseason game and then a different one in the next one. I don't think he's going to be trying to look at different starting lineups. I think that's what training camp was for. And they settled on Eric Gordon being the starter because he wants to have that veteran presence out there. He wants to, have the two-way capabilities of Eric Gordon on the floor, somebody who can be effective without necessarily having the ball in his hands offensively as a spot-up shooter. I do think it kind of takes away some of what Eric Gordon is good at because he is so lethal when you get the ball in his hands and he's able to get, a full head of steam going towards the rim. He can be really effective finishing inside. And I think that kind of takes away some scoring punch or some potential scoring punch from the bench. But if the substitution pattern is just going to be him sitting at the 7-minute-ish mark early in the games, then it's not the end of the world because then you get subbed back into the games, probably by the end of the first quarter. So as long as that substitution pattern works for Eric Gordon, we can, play it by ear, see how it plays out. But we did also, so in addition to confirming the suspicions about the 5th starter for this Rockets team, the nod going to Eric Gordon, I kind of speculated that we wouldn't see Daniel Tice and Alperen Sengun share the floor at all, and we didn't. The Rockets, I think, are definitely viewing those two guys as their exclusive center-only options. And, originally I thought there might be cause for them to play a little bit of Tice, Sengun together, or a little bit of Sengun and Wood together, that kind of thing. But ultimately, I think the only two big lineup we're going to see is going to be Christian Wood I think we're not going to see Tice and Sengun share the floor at all together. We will see those guys share the floor with Wood at times at the 4 spot, but we're not going to see those two guys share the floor together themselves, and we didn't see that in this game. So as far as substitution patterns go and who we can realistically expect to play minutes at the 5 spot moving forward, it'll be some combo of Tice, Sengun, and then Wood cleaning up the rest of those backup minutes so that they can utilize the forward minutes across the rest of the lineup for the rest of the guys. KJ Martin was great in this game. He was explosive. He was kind of like a demolition man at times, finishing at the rim. He had that one insane alley. It wasn't quite an alley because it wasn't an alley dunk. It was just a lob pass by Josh Christopher. And it just was a ridiculous display of KJ's athleticism where he was able to go up off the wrong leg, catch the pass, secure it, and then get it back to his offhand and still kiss it up off the backboard and make it in, and then was fouled as well. So had an and one opportunity and then missed the and one opportunity, but was able to secure the rebound off of said and one and dunk it home. So just kind of a one-man wrecking crew for KJ Martin. And I also highlighted that pass of his earlier where he made that strong cut towards the rim, got the pass from Alperen Şengün, and was able to kick it back out to DJ Augustine for the wide open three. That's going to be the area that I think KJ Martin, if he's going to really excel in his game, the shooting we saw last season, right? He really worked on his shot and he's continued to do that this offseason. If he can keep that shot consistent, keep defenses honest, the next level of his game to really work on and try to improve on is really tightening up his handle so that he can be a little bit more comfortable driving and attacking off closeouts, and then facilitating out of those opportunities, which is exactly what we saw when he took that bounce pass from Şengün and then made the right read to the next guy to go from a good shot to a great shot. So that's KJ Martin's kind of development plan there. And for him to get more minutes as a true, as a wing presence and as a wing player, instead of being like a small ball four, that's what he's going to have to work on, because he can't really exactly slot in at that three spot if he's not able to effectively and consistently take opponents off the dribble and score either at the rim or set up teammates by using his driving ability. Pretty much anybody that you slot in at one of those three, 1, 2, 3 spots needs to be able to create for themselves and create for others out of, dribble drive opportunities. Who else do I have on this roster? Because there's so many guys to talk about. Jae'Sean Tate and David Nwaba came in and did Jae'Sean Tate and David Nwaba things. They worked hard, hard-nosed defense. David Nwaba looked, solid in transition in this game. I think that's, the area of his game that is absolutely, I can't say it's underrated, but, when he gets going with a full head of steam, he is probably the strongest player on the Rockets. I mean, you look at how just filled out he is and how muscular he's probably the strongest guy on this Rockets roster. So when he gets going in transition, this Rockets team is going to be a handful to deal with. And I think that was one of the other stats that I had pulled up that I wanted to highlight before we kind of wrap up final thoughts on this thing. Was there it is. So the Rockets the Rockets did not out rebound the Wizards. It was Wizards were +7 on the board, 61-54. The Rockets did facilitate a little bit more than the Wizards, had 24 dimes to just 19 by the Wizards. But the stat that really stood out to me was the fast break points, the fast break opportunities. So the Rockets had 17 fast break points to just 6 by the Washington Wizards. And so that's a sign that the Rockets were absolutely getting out there in transition, playing with speed. And that's exactly what Steven Silas wants to do. There were times where, right, and I think that's kind of it's like that everybody eats mentality that this roster has, where there were times where C. Wood would get the rebound, or Jalen Green, or KPJ, or David Nwaba, or KJ Martin. And it didn't matter who got the board. They just grabbed the rebound and immediately started pushing in transition, trying to find a crack in the Wizards defense to score before they could get set defensively. And that's what this team has to do. They are one of, if not the youngest team in the NBA. They flashed that graphic pregame, and I felt incredibly old when they did that, because every single player was ridiculously young compared to me. And I was just like, okay, I can't do this. So I had a bit of an existential moment there pregame, just looking at the youthfulness of the Houston Rockets roster. That said, they have to get out and run. And they're going to have some defensive struggles at times. The communication level, it needs to be better. They're going to have a lot of ups and downs defensively this year. Absolutely. It's a young team. They're going to struggle on that end of the basketball occasionally. I think that they have the tools and the personnel to kind of surprise some people with certain lineups. I think in some of the lineups where they had multiple forwards out there, like David Nwaba, Jae'Sean Tate, and I think KJ Martin were all sharing the floor at one point in time alongside Christian Wood and Kevin Porter Jr. So like lineups like that, where they've got multiple switchable, versatile forwards who can, who are arguably plus defenders, those lineups are probably going to fare okay defensively. Even with Christian Wood slotted in at that 5 spot, as long as he's not getting abused by another, bigger bodied center, which he's shown some struggles with previously. I think this Rockets team has a chance to surprise some people defensively, but overall, it's going to be picking up and learning those schemes and really getting comfortable with like the switching element, the help coverages, all that stuff to really slow down opposing teams once they get into their sets and what they're trying to accomplish. But I can't come away thinking, I come away thinking this was a really, really productive first preseason game. We saw a lot of different things out of this Rockets team. We got glimpses of what they're trying to do moving forward. Christian Wood looked good, albeit, very low usage rate in this one for him. And one thing that I didn't remark on was Christian Wood's passing. He had 4 assists in this one. And I think that's going to be an area of his game that he spoke about a little bit during camp was, right, knowing that he's going to be a bit more of a focal point of the offense and knowing that other teams are going to be scouting him more heavily now. He needs to be ready and willing to and capable of passing out of double and triple teams when he has the ball or making his move towards the rim. And then instead of always and only being able to try and finish up and over defenders or through contact, being able to make the right read and kind of, I'm getting ready to, rise up for a shot here in the paint, but, it's kind of slightly contested or whatever. Let me kick it out to the wing instead because I see this defender kind of leaking in, trying to, get ready to secure the rebound. So as he works on his court vision, his court awareness, and gets more comfortable creating those opportunities for other players, I think we're going to see, that next step of growth for Christian Wood and what he's able to really be as the focal point of this Houston Rockets offense. Again, Usman Garuba was great in his little stretch of minutes. He hit a 3-pointer, and he did that just to shut me up. So until Usman Garuba dips below 30%, I'm not going to talk about his 3-point shooting form anymore because he hit that 3 and was definitely like, all right, Jackson, don't ever talk about my 3-point shooting form ever again. I will say that the Rockets did struggle. They went ice cold from 3 in that second quarter. Thankfully, they found their way back, managed to shoot 39.5% for the game, 15 of 38 on the evening, a little under 52% from the floor shooting overall. And then, like I mentioned, those free throws, that's going to be an area of concern moving forward. Steven Silas talked about it post-game saying that free throws are definitely going to be on the table for Rockets practice and that they've got to get that situation figured out moving forward. But I think that's all I've got for this one. Really excited to revisit this game and kind of pick out some of the other more nuanced things that we can analyze from this one. There we go. Kind of tried to hit all of these in a flurry. And also, hey, I'm still in preseason mode, and it's going to take me a minute to get back up to speed on game breakdowns as I'm getting back into mid-season form. But with that, that's going to be it for today's episode. A great win by the Houston Rockets, a great way to start this new era in Rockets basketball. And speaking of new eras in Rockets basketball, we had Ryan Hollins and Craig Ackerman in the booth for this game, and I was pleasantly surprised. I thought they had a really good back and forth dynamic. And as the game went on, Ryan Hollins grew on me, and I'm really excited to see how that broadcast duo fares this season. So again, new era on the court as well as off the court for these Houston Rockets. Now that is going to do it for today's episode. As always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And we look forward to having you back right here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball.